Okay, so this is the presentation I've made for our Class 6 Zoom meeting, Reiki as a Spiritual Practice. Of course, it's not going to work now. So I was just mentioning Usui on top of Mount Kurama and his 21-day fast. According to our oral tradition, it happened in May of 2020. That should say 1922. May of 1922. Now, there are no visitors logs on Mount Kurama. There's no record of who climbs the mountain. So there's no proving he was there. But he told his students that he was there in May of 1922. His students have passed on the stories. Hayashi told Takada. She told every class she taught that in May of 1922, Usui had this experience on the mountain. We think it might have been May 22nd, but nobody knows the date for sure. On the 21st day of Usui's fast and meditation, he said, "I felt a great Reiki above my head." So he didn't say a ball of light, but I think for a Japanese person, Reiki means spiritual energy. And in Japanese culture, spiritual energy is always written as Daikomyo, which means a great white light. And it's the way he wrote it, Daikomyo. He felt a great Reiki above his head. So why was he fasting? The fast is a method of purifying the body and mind to allow the recognition of Reiki to arise within, right? Reiki is already everywhere. It's in everything, but most of us don't grow up being told to think about it. It's just life. We think of it as life, but it's actually the energy of life. We're also told that, God gave humans dominion over the earth to do whatever we want. And that becomes a little harder once you recognize the Reiki in every living thing. So in Usui's story, the light of Reiki, the Daikomyo, enters through the top of his head and it progresses through his body, through the nervous system, until he becomes aware of it in every cell of his body. He said he felt his whole body vibrating. So I thought I would just dissect a little. I don't know if I can close the speakers. Can you see the right symbol now? No, or can you not?
Yes.
Okay. So Reiki, on the left is the ancient Chinese style of writing. Japanese also was much more pictorial, much more graphic before World War II, a lot like what you'd see on the left. This is Chinese Ling Qi, which is the same as Japanese Reiki. Remember that Rei, we pronounce it Reiki in English, but in Japanese they call it Reiki. So Reiki is Ling Qi. Qi is Qi, and Le is Ling. Ling, Le. It's a different pronunciation, but for the same character. On the left, the picture is that the very top piece, this arch with the 4 lines, is divine feminine blessings. They equate Reiki with feminine energy. The 3 buckets are rain being poured down to the earth. It's the symbol for pouring. And you can see what it's pouring into. Do you see the figure of a person standing with their arms up towards the sky? This is the symbol for priestess or female shaman. So I hope this isn't lost on the 3 of you women, that the symbol for divine feminine blessings can only be invoked by a female priestess or shaman. She stands with their arms up to the sky, calling down the divine blessings. And below her, those 3 lines right below her are steam. And below the steam is this big swooshing line that shows it's the symbol for cooking pot. And underneath the pot is this cross with 4 little dashes that represents fire. That's the symbol for fire. So there is literally a pot of rice sitting on a fire with steam rising from it. So the rain of blessings is water. And the thing underneath the cooking pot is fire. So the implication here is that this female priestess calls down the divine feminine blessings. They fall to the earth where they meet the fire. The fire boils the water in the cooking pot and cooks the rice, and the steam rises again to the heavens, which again becomes the rain of blessings that falls next time. So it shows this beautiful cycle of water and fire merging together to create this virtual cycle of blessings. And the rice, of course, that's cooked in the pot nourishes all living beings. In Japan and China, they don't ask you, like, how are you? They say, have you had your rice? Which is to say, have you eaten? Do you have what you need? Are you taken care of? Do you need anything? Can I help you? You know, even in a store, they might ask you, have you had your rice? Meaning, can I help you? Do you need help? So rice is very, very important in Asian culture. It's the staple food source, and has been for millennia. So I think it's really fascinating, the symbol of Reiki and the imagery that it evokes. Now on the right, you can see the modern style of writing Reiki in post-World War II Japanese. And it looks similar if you actually look at it. So the divine blessings are there at the top. The bucket, you know, sort of becomes a straight line, but the image is still there, the raindrops falling down. And it falls down into the symbol for priest. And it's in the modern version, it's a little more masculine. In the ancient version, they see it as feminine priestess. Then below it, the symbol for Reiki, you can see the 3 lines of the steam, the swooshing curve of the cooking pot, and the fire has been simplified into a kind of X. Any questions about that? None? Okay. So I'll move to the next screen. This is the symbol, the seal of Mikao Usui when he developed his Reiki practice. His practice was called, and it's written here in the seal, Shin Shin Kaizen Usui Reiki Ryoho. So Shin Shin Kaizen means method to improve body and heart-mind. So the Usui Reiki Ryoho method to improve the heart-mind and the body. Of course, you know, none of that's a surprise to you. Usui Reiki Ryoho. We call our practice Usui Shiki Ryoho because that's the name Takata gave the practice she taught in Hawaii after World War II. But Usui called his practice Usui Reiki Ryoho. And the only thing you might not have seen before on this page is the word, the expression, heart-mind. And that's what I'd like to talk a little bit more about. So in Asian culture, we always bring, and you've done it in your Reiki meditation, we do it for a big part of the Reiki meditation, we bring the hands together in Gassho. In Asian culture, the left side of the body represents the yin, or feminine, the water. The right side represents the masculine, or yang side of the body, which is fire. And in the Reiki meditation, we bring the hands together and place the thumbs against the sternum, uniting the water and the fire against the central channel of the body. Do you know what I mean by central channel? The central channel is, in Japanese, they call it the hara system. It's the line of energy that travels from your root straight up through all the chakras to the crown. Now, in Japanese, they're not saying the word chakras, and they're not saying central channel. They think of it as the hara. And the hara has within it what they call the triple diamond. The lower three chakras, the middle three chakras, and the upper chakra. So they don't use the word chakra, but they call it the triple diamond or the hara system, the lower hara, the middle hara, which is at the heart, and the upper hara at the third eye. But it is functionally in every way the same system. So by bringing the hands together in gasho and uniting water and fire, putting the thumbs against the sternum, the power is released into the central channel that runs from the root to the crown. And literally, you begin to feel, or many people begin to feel, I often will feel the flow of energy rising up the central channel. I think Melanie has done a lot of Kundalini yoga, so you may have had that experience also. When it reaches the crown, it tends to cascade down as, they call it rain. It cascades down as a rain of amrita, blessing energy. This spot that we touch in the chest is called kokoro, or heart mind. Kokoro is an interesting place. It's a concept you'll hear a lot, but it's also a place we all know. If you think about somebody who you really love, like one of your kids, Nellie, if you close your eyes and think about one of your kids who's far away, or they're not home and you don't know where they are and you're getting worried, you don't think about it in your head. You actually feel it in your heart. We all know the pain that happens here, right? But this isn't the heart. Remember, the heart's over here. This thing in the middle is what they call kokoro, or heart mind. It's the place where the mind, the consciousness, joins the physicality of the body. And we can feel it like something tearing open our hearts at times, or a knife stabbing us at times. Or when you really love somebody, you feel it pouring out of you through that heart center. And in Japanese esoteric thinking, this is the spot where the upper spiritual energies and the lower earth energies join. So just like we're bringing the left and right together, the fire, the water and the fire, we're uniting the Reiki, the spiritual energy, with the earth energy, and they come together this way in the heart center, or the kokoro. It's this place of uniting. It's like a furnace, you know, in a nuclear furnace, they are squeezing the atoms together into this tight, compact ball of heat until it explodes with the energy of the sun, producing massive heat. And that's the same thing that happens when we bring our hands into gasho and hold them here at our heart. My teacher, John Gray, always called it the center of consciousness. And in his chakra meditation, you'll hear him say over and over, breathe into the center of consciousness, meaning that kokoro in the chest. So how does the heart mind connect to our Reiki practice? The name of Usui's practice, Shin Shin Kaizen Usui Reiki Ryoho, recognizes Reiki as a mind and body practice with no separation. So if the mind is still and the heart is pure, then we experience a state that in Japanese they call wholeheartedness. The mind and the body have become joined together into one, which means the hara system is a representation of the whole universe. In Japanese and Asian esoteric way of thinking, when the hara system works perfectly, you achieve Buddha mind or Buddha consciousness. You become the Buddha, you become the light. And that's what's represented by this yin-yang symbol on the right. The heart mind and the universe become one and the same, inseparable. Okay? Any questions about that? So when Usui said a great Reiki appeared above his head, he was actually physically demonstrating the union of the heart mind and the universe. He had achieved a level of purification that allowed him to have this experience. And that union is available to all of us by doing gasho and practicing Hatsurei-ho, which can be called the method to bring forth the spirit of Rei. Rei being that spiritual aspect of the energy. So here, we're placing the hands together over the heart, bringing the mind to focus on the sensation of the palms touching the sternum by the thumbs. And we allow this energy to travel through the central channel and build. And this sensation will build, it will grow until you feel it as a whole body sensation. So next time you do this practice for the next 2 weeks until the graduation, I really want you to focus on the palms at the heart, feeling the thumbs pressing into your chest. You don't have to really push them in. It's just a feel where they touch, and try to think and be aware of this uniting of the fire and the water energies, of the Rei energy coming down from above into this spot and the earth energy coming up from below into this spot. Really start to become aware of this uniting of the powerful forces of nature and how all of nature is represented in your own energy body, because you are one with everything that exists. You are a microcosm of everything. In a sense, if we could achieve the level of Usui often didn't need to give initiations to his students. He would just sit with them and they would feel the initiations happening to them while they were looking at him. He didn't need to put his hands on people in the end to heal them. They sat in a room with him and they felt the energy moving. Once you become, if we ever have the luck to become one with all the energy of the universe, like Usui did, what will happen will be considered miraculous by many people. So this is the path you're on. I don't know if any of us will ever reach the conclusion of it, but maybe someone will, maybe one of you will. So then there's this funny thing. Usui had his students recite from 125 poems of the Meiji Emperor. Note that there are thousands of poems left by the Meiji Emperor. Meiji Emperor was the emperor of Japan at the time Usui was alive. And one of the tools Usui gave his students was these poems. Now, I find that they're not all that meaningful to our Reiki students, but Usui honored the Meiji Emperor as an enlightened being. Of course, in Japan, he was also a king. He was a god, so if you had to worship the Meiji Emperor. And emperor worship is one of the practices that the US got rid of as soon as they took over Japan. So for many years, this was sort of left out of Reiki. In part, you'll see because the poems of the Meiji Emperor are very, not very well translated into English and not translated in a way that's especially meditative or useful to us. Yeah. So Usui said, after doing your Hatsurei-ho, your body and mind move into a state of non-dualism. And so we may start to feel the great Reiki above our heads and in our bodies. So why did he want his students to recite the poems then, if just doing Hatsurei-ho is enough? So here's a quote from the Hike. The Hike is the only written manual that Usui left behind for his students. And it's not even really quite like a manual. It doesn't give a lot of instructions. There are no diagrams. But here's what he says in the Hike. And you can find this Hike online. The AETW website has a pretty good English translation of it. But Usui says, receiving with profound awe and reverence the teachings of the Emperor Meiji, achieving our principles, those are the precepts, and intending to train and develop the mind and body. And then after that are quoted 125 poems selected from among the thousands of poems that the Meiji Emperor wrote. Notice at the top it says Meiji Tenno Gyosei. Gyosei is a word that's only used for poems written by the emperor. And it's a form, tenno, it's a 2-line poem. And gyosei means written by the emperor. So here's a picture of the Meiji Emperor, colorized photo, heavily decorated, war hero apparently, though I suspect he never fought in any war. He was viewed as the living incarnation of the sun goddess, Amaterasu. And Japanese people believed that by chanting these poems, at the point where I give you the initiation in your Hatsureiho, they would chant the poems of the Meiji Emperor to call down the blessings of the sun goddess Amaterasu. Because they believed that if you would chant the poems, recite them over and over, your consciousness would connect to that divine being, and you would receive blessings from the Meiji Emperor. You can see how this sort of practice fell out of fashion in post-war Japan when it became a felony to worship the emperor as a god. So if we study the poems, when you really read them, and if you get a good translation, you will see that the precepts of Usui's system are really displayed in the verses. It's very poetic. And I will email you some of the poems from this 125 poems. Many of them won't make any sense, and some of them will resonate as, concepts. We don't particularly need to call down the blessings of the Meiji Emperor, but I wanted to share this with you because it is part of the spiritual system of Reiki that Usui left for his students. And this is even evident on his gravestone. This stone, it's about 30 feet tall, is a naturally cut rock, and written on it is the whole story of Usui's life. And in one section it says, on reflection, Reiho means the practice of Reiki, puts special emphasis not just on curing disease, but also on enjoying well-being in life, with correcting the mind and making the body healthy through the use of an innate healing ability. Thus, before teaching, the ikun, or the poems of the Meiji emperors, should be reverently be read, and the 5 precepts of Usui should be chanted and kept in mind morning and evening. He believed that this combination of the poems of the Meiji Emperor and the Reiki precepts could become a training tool for the mind to keep our mind focused in the present moment and on positivity. And he said this is really the state that Reiki practitioners need to cultivate: completely present and completely positive, and with their mind focused on divinity, on oneness with the light. So we don't want to be in the state where we're trying to fix anything. We're going to cure people. I'm a healer. We want to stay in that place where our goal is actually to achieve union or oneness, not just with Reiki, but with the Reiki within us and within the people that we're helping, and within our students and whoever you get to touch. And even if you're a bank teller, if you can stay in that state of oneness, every single customer who comes to your window is going to feel that light waking up inside of them. You might have been lucky enough in your life to meet a spiritual person who, just being in front of them, just serving them a cup of coffee, you feel the blessings coming from them. And that's the state that we want to be in, where the blessings just flow through us. I don't think any of us is ever going to be the greatest Reiki healers on earth. I don't want to be. I want to be clean enough and clear enough inside of me that the blessings of Reiki come through me. Because if I let the blessings of Reiki come through me, it's so much more than any Reiki healer could ever give. The blessings of the lineage, And I think that's one of the other things that should be said here is Usui said before he left, he told his students, I'm never going to take a new body and reincarnate. My consciousness will forever stay to help any future practitioners of Reiki who call on me. And Hayashi said something very much like that before he took his life. And Takata herself said it on her deathbed. I have found the way to remain eternally for any future practitioners of Reiki in my lineage. And since you have this lineage of Usui, Hayashi, and Takata, take advantage of that. Call on the masters. Make it a part of your spiritual practice. You know, in Japan, they would put their hands in gasho. They might start above their head and pull the blessings down, visualize pulling the blessings down, breathe in the Reiki light, even if it's just one breath of the Joshin Kokyu-ho, filling their whole body and their Hara system with Reiki, bow to the masters of the lineage, and in their mind think, Usui, Hayashi, Takata, please be with me for this Reiki practice or Reiki treatment. And then begin the treatment. Now, this is it is a very formal Japanese way of doing it. And at the same time, I find it to be a very, very powerful way of connecting when I feel disconnected. You know, there are days I go to work where I'm just going to work like any other employee, and taking that moment to reconnect to the source of the blessings, to recognize that the source of the blessings is within every cell of my body, that the energy that comes through the session is actually coming from the masters of my lineage. It does reconnect my mind. It puts my mind back in the right place. That said, there are a lot of Eastern Reiki teachers who make that the focus of their whole practice. And the simple truth is, even if I don't do that, after about 15 minutes of doing Reiki, that's the place my mind gets into anyway. Because Reiki itself, as it flows through me, corrects my crazy thinking and gets me back into the right state of mind. So I think, you know, some Reiki masters, especially in the East, tend to focus so much on the doing of the spiritual practice that it becomes non-spiritual anymore. And I also think we have to avoid that. That's a major flaw, that we focus so much on not doing that we're doing a lot of focusing. That defeats the purpose. So finally, Usui says, after using the Reiki method long enough to face your inner demons, or he calls it inner dragons, you will be sufficiently purified in body and mind to spontaneously experience the Daikomyo, or great white light, which we've talked about appeared above the head of Mikao Usui in 1922 at the conclusion of his 21-day fast and meditation. So for me, this is you can see it says Adobe stock. I took this photo off the internet. This is the goal of Reiki meditation. It's the goal of our Reiki practice, to achieve oneness with the great white light, which is the light that's in all beings. It's the Buddha mind, or the Buddha nature. It's the universal consciousness is another name for it. I think Holy Spirit is probably another name for it. You know, every culture has an expression when you reach that state where you're one with the divine. And of course, with the recognition that nothing changes. You're going to wake up in the same bed. You're going to go to the same job. You're going to have the same problems. You're going to get big bills in the mail you don't know how to pay. You're going to have the same problems of other people. It's nothing changes. You know, I think that's why the focus on like achieving enlightenment is so misguided for most people, because actually nothing on the outside changes. And everything changes when you're one with the light, because your approach to life is going to be completely different. So this is what we're aiming for. And I think 1 month of talking about the spiritual practice of Reiki is certainly not enough to get any of us there. But I want to give you these ideas now, because these will grow inside of you for years and years to come. And this sort of presentation was given to me on paper by my teacher, John, 20-something years ago. And I'm only now starting to understand some of what he said. So that's all I have to. Oh, did you just see the screen switch? Oh, you're seeing the same screen. Okay. So do you have any questions about that?
I have a question. How does you mentioned that that the practice of, well, I've been doing a lot of Kundalini yoga in the last few weeks. And I found it to be really, I had like a week of tough emotions. And then after that, it became a lot clearer. But how does Kundalini yoga and the Reiki thing, how do they connect?
I don't know. I don't do
You
Kundalini
mentioned
yoga.
it before that.
I think a lot of people who do Kundalini yoga are really focusing on raising their vibration so the energy flows upward through the Hara system or through the chakras, up the central channel, and shoots out the crown.
Yeah. It always starts though with the hands pressed here, always.
Yes, absolutely. It's the same practice.
Mhm.
There's a lot of intention in the Kundalini yoga. There's a lot of effort, but I find it's exactly the same as the Hatsureho. Has the same effect. But as you said, it's very uncomfortable when the purification is happening. And I think each of you's gone through a Reiki purification, so you know. It's a great joy to purify.
Feels really great.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you. My teacher used to say, suffer well. Yeah.
Why is the Chinese symbolism more feminine and the Japanese more masculine?
I think maybe at the time in China when that symbol was used 2000 years ago, blessings were considered more of a feminine thing. And I think cultures changed over time and a priest became the source of blessings. You know, when people lived in a tribal way, every town had their witch or their shaman or their priestess, you know, a wise woman who would help people. And I think over time, as culture became more formalized and medicine arose, mostly it was men who became the doctors, the you know, Oriental medicine doctors and the priests. Patriarchy took hold. Culture changed and patriarchy took hold. So the Japanese symbol is more masculine.
It looks it though. It like
Even looks it, yeah, absolutely. And if you go to Japan today, it's a very male-dominated culture. Even today, men have all the power in Japanese culture. So much more than here.
yeah. But even like the lines and the strokes have a much more kind of aggressive
Yeah.
like look to them than the Chinese one. Not aggressive in a bad way, but like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. So, Melunia, tell me something. Tell me, darling.
What do you mean? What do you want to know?
So,
It's unbelievable, this meditation that I was thinking last night, honestly. And I mean, I couldn't sleep. Every time I have a Reiki meeting or a Reiki class, the night before, I can't sleep. There's something inside that, you know, and I fell asleep at 4 a.m. So I was thinking about Reiki, and I say, and Usui, and when he meditate in Mount Kurama. And then I thought, as he went to Mount Kurama to meditate, and Reiki came to him, that same things can be for us, that we walk and we take our steps to meditate, to cleanse ourselves. The same things you said, honestly, you know, and it was like what I thought last night. And if you ask, it's coming, you know, but you have to open up yourself, but ask, and it comes to you. And but you have to meditate. You have to meditate. And I feel that sometimes this city is very hard. It's becoming very difficult. And it's already few months that I don't take 2 days off, that I go away in the countryside. The only thing I do, I go in Central Park almost every day and I walk and I see the trees and everything else. But I really feel that I need to go away from the city and just to detox completely. But it's all coming, you know, along, and more and more I feel that I really would like to go to the hospitals and give Reiki. I really, you know, it's because all is coming to me are people with cancer, and people, you know, they're yes, I have other friends. People, they say, "Oh, I want Reiki from you because, you know, I feel so peaceful." And I had a party of 56 people last Saturday, and at the restaurant, and then we start talking about Reiki. And this lady that she you know, she moved the party, say, "Oh, Melania, yes, Reiki. I saw a presentation, I was mind blowing." And she said, "Where can I do Reiki?" I said, "New York City Reiki Center." So as you see, I send you customers. But she said, "No, but also want to try your Reiki because, you know, you make me feel so peaceful and this and that." And then she brought me her friend. And she say, touch her. What do you feel with her? Can you do Reiki?" So I put my hands on her head and I felt the heat. And then I touch her heart and I say, "You're suffering now." And, you know, she was in shock. She say, "Oh my God, it's true." Say, you know, so whenever. But if you ask, it comes. That's it, you know. But you have to be pure in your heart, pure in your mind. You have to be humble and just let it go, whatever it comes, you know. Yes, it's okay, it's painful, clearing and everything, but just don't get upset. You know, it's not worth it. We can, and what I really hope, in all my meditation, I feel that I hope there is going to be a switch in the next 30, 50 years, that people, they're going to realize that they don't live, we cannot only live in this dimension as today, which is, it's very useless. We need to live in a better dimension where, you know, everybody can really meditate and understand the treasure they have inside, the light inside of them, and how can really be better in everything and do better. Thanks also to Reiki, because it heals so many things inside, you know, and then it gives back. I really hope it's going to be this switch. I sent, when I did your meditation one night, I sent Reiki to the area in Turkey, and I felt so much pain, and it's really, it's a disaster for me. And every day, you know, I feel that, and it's because when you really meditate deep and you go deep and you use Reiki so deep, not only to help people, but to really heal whatever is possible through the light that goes through you, because you don't do anything. You just allow the light to go and do what they have to do. You really feel how much is needed, and the pain is around. And I mean, it's unbelievable what is happening outside. And there is going to be a switch. Something is happening. Something is so awkward. You know, so awkward. Don't you guys feel it? Like something in the dimension is so unbalanced, so awkward.
Yeah, a lot of bad news. Every time we turn on the news, a lot of tragedy, a lot of people that don't know how to live well.
Yeah, but
and contamination.
But there always been bad news. Always, since we are born, we turn on the TV. There's always bad news. Never had a good news on TV. But I really feel like it's something is unbalanced. Something is, you know, it's not right. And we really need to bring a lot of light, a lot of Reiki because it's the only way. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, she always said, even one drop in the ocean can help to improve the ocean. You know. Okay, I'm done.
Well, Melania, I believe you're right. I think that there's a switch going on that's building in people, and more people are on a path of enlightenment, of naturally wanting to feel better and doing things like meditating and trying to, you know, find the love within themselves. And in doing that, it's creating conflict of duality between the people that are trying to raise their vibrations and the people that are choosing to stay the same in this kind of lower dimensional feeling. And we're seeing that a lot with all the wars and climate change and So because the two opposites are so close to each other right now, there's so much friction, like as some people are going this way and other people are just choosing to remain the same. So my hope is that within the next, you know, 25, 50 to 100 years, what's going to happen is that more people are going to choose to go upwards so that the overall energy will flow this way instead of staying down here. But it definitely is very painful and hard for those of us who are very empathic and trying to, you know, move towards oneness, to still be feeling the lower vibrations of those who are choosing to stay stuck. And it's just the way that it is right now.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I agree.
I really hope that, you know, I don't understand. They should teach in schools yoga and Reiki to the kids from kindergarten on. If you think, you know, a different way, a different approach on teaching, and if you really teach them Reiki and yoga, I promise you, it will be a better generation.
I agree.
No, I don't understand why they don't think like that. They don't do it, but not in America only. I mean, this should be also thought in Japan or in India, or, you know, where Reiki and yoga was nothing. They're numb, completely numb. And, you know, it's really, we need to have this switch. This switch has to
We are
happen.
divided by religion. We are divided, segregated by religion, by belief. From our ancestors, we carry on the religion aspect and many different way of thinking and approach to different religion for each country. And I guess that's why, because if we put Reiki out there, then they're gonna put why they don't teach the Catholic aspect, the Christian aspect, the Buddhism. It's so many things that only not a lot of people know about Reiki and also about yoga, because that comes from
Reiki is not a religion.
No, it's not exactly, but it's not. But we put it out there, then the person who really always be astray in the religion carry on from generation to generation from their family and ancestor. They're gonna emphasize that. Like, why we put Reiki and we don't put this, that this is the Bible, this is the book, this is this, and this is that. So I guess it's just a lot of like pushing one way and another, because
Well,
a lot of things out there.
But
for
Nelly,
different group of people.
every
to choose
country is
from.
different. Every country is different, because
Yes.
if you send your kids to school in Italy, once a week they have 1 hour of religion. You know, they have it from elementary school to middle school. And I remember we used to drive crazy the poor priest that used to come to class and teach us about the Bible. So, you know, for us was, but yeah, I mean, it depends on every country. But anyway, it's I think I don't know. People goes to Reiki or any other things in moment of need. You know, oh, I feel anxious. Oh, I feel tired. Oh, I can't sleep. Oh, you know, my life is a mess and this and that. why don't go to Reiki or to yoga or meditation just because you are happy, you feel good, and you want to just, feel better and to discover new things. That's the things. That's how I start my path on deep meditation, and that's how I start Reiki. I start Reiki because I wanted to help other people, because I saw people were not happy after COVID. And, I say, how can I help them? And they came to me, and I asked to the universe, and it came to me, Reiki, done. And that was the missing puzzle in my life, and the missing piece of the puzzle. And I was so happy. And, I'm so passionate that now I can't wait to close the restaurant and just do Reiki, because to everybody, because that's what I love. But as Brian says, we cannot live off air. So we need to eat and pay the bills. So I have to be patient and to accept anything that comes. But yeah, I think, everything is beautiful. And Usui, if you think how Usui lived when he came to America, that I'm sure when he was in Chicago, he suffered a lot. He deprived himself a lot. Then he went back to Japan, and all this, he sacrificed everything, he sacrificed everything to know the light, to know the truth, to know to have, and the enlightenment came to him, choose him. So that tells you a lot. So every time, as Brian say, we don't expect to be enlightened or healers, but like Usui, we're very far away from that. But sometimes when it's hard for me, I think about him, and or Jesus. He loved everybody. Usui loved everybody. He had compassion for everybody, and that's what really helps me to go through. Every day we meet people that are not nice. You have to be patient and not to go to their level. That's important. That's the.
So before we go any further, I want to share a couple of images and talk about your homework for the next few weeks until graduation. So before I show anything, I'll just say in Japanese culture, they have this idea. In Japanese Reiki culture, there's an idea that the symbols are actually maps of how energy flows through the body. I don't know that I completely agree. This was not part of the teaching that my teacher John got from Hawaii Takata, but I want to share it. I mean, there was 100 years of development of Reiki in Japan after Usui died, before Japanese and Western Reiki culture started coming back together. So there, might be an idea that developed in Japan, but I want to show it to you now. I found a lousy picture of it online, but I'm going to put it up on the screen, even though it's cheesy. You see in this picture, the chokurei, they claim actually represents the ball of light, the light of Daikomyo, striking Usui's transpersonal point, the chakra above the top of the head, coming down, straight down the central channel to the root, and then working its way through the different layers of the body, through each of the chakras, until it reaches the kokoro, the heart chakra, the center of the hara system. And so one practice that these Japanese Reiki students do is they either draw with their hand or they visualize drawing the chokurei through each of their chakras, passing the hand over the body until the hand comes to rest above the heart, and visualizing that chokurei symbol sinking into their bodies as a kind of meditative practice. Of course, it takes only 20 or 30 seconds to do it. And they claim, and you'll feel it if you do it. Why don't you all try that now? From above the right side of your head to the center line, and then down your spine to your root. So your hand comes down between your legs. and then out the left side, making the spiral over your forehead, over your belly button, over your throat, over your solar plexus, high heart to the heart, just like you're doing the closing spiral on somebody. And then pressing it into your heart, feeling and visualizing the choku-rei filling your whole body and your whole energy body. These students of Reiki claim that the choku-rei actually represents the calming of the body, we know that Usui had to purify his body and he had to purify his mind so that he could receive the daikomyo or enlightenment. So these students of Reiki claim that the choku-rei is for purifying and calming the body. Then, now let me show you the seiheki. So seiheki, you can see the way we draw it today at the bottom of the screen. And on the far left, you can see how seiheki looked originally. This is, I think I told you in our last meeting, the symbol of Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha is the Buddha of limitless light, who is the God that controls Mount Karama. And you can see different ways it has been drawn over 1,200 years.
Yeah.
So the way on the right is the way you see it drawn on Mount Karama today. The way on the left is the way it is traditionally, even in Sanskrit. This is an old Sanskrit symbol that's been Japanized to what you see on the right. And below is sort of the way Takata taught it in America, or at least the way her students wrote it down. So these students of Reiki in Japan claim that the seiheki symbol has its purpose of balancing the mind. And the symbol has two sides. I don't know if you can see the two sides. The side on the left, the pointy beak side, what I see is the front of the face, the nose, the chin, the front of the neck, is on the left. Well, if you were the symbol, it would be on the right, which is the masculine side. And this smooth curved line with the two little bumps is on the feminine side. Again, the water and the fire coming together. The piece on the left looks almost like a lightning bolt. It is the fire, the masculine energy. The piece on the right is this smooth curve and a waterfall of blessings. It is the feminine energy. It's the water and the fire coming together again, just like the representation of Gasho at the heart, the left and the right coming together. And according to these students in Japan, now, you may or may not buy this, I'm not sure I do, but they practice it like this. They draw the seiheki, the masculine side over their right and the feminine side over their left. And they bring their hands in Gasho. And they ask the seiheki to bring me into balance, bring my mind into balance, bring my mind and my body together at the heart mind, at the kokoro, so that I can have a realization of oneness. So for the first 2 weeks of this month, you worked with the symbols, drawing them on your drawing boards. But what I'd like you to do for the next few weeks, up until graduation every day, is instead of drawing these symbols now on a scroll, I want you to draw them over your body. I want you to visualize them entering your body. And the third one, the harder one, is Honshaze Shonen. Now, you may have to draw the Honshaze Shonen on your scroll in order to see it. But once you see it in front of you, then I want you to visualize the Honshaze Shonen making a ladder from the ball of light above your head to the earth below your feet. connecting all the way through your hara system into the earth. We literally call Honshoze Shonen the bridge across time and space. And the trick about that is that there is no time and space. Time doesn't exist outside of Earth. We literally don't have experienced time outside of the Earth's atmosphere. So what are we actually connecting to? You know, if you're already one with the person you're sending Reiki to, what are you doing? Are you actually sending anything? Are you actually bringing them to you? No, you're moving into a state of oneness. And when you're in a state of oneness with somebody, you could even put your hands on yourself and give them Reiki. Truly, if you're really in the state of mind where you're one with them. Now, I don't know that most of us ever really get to that state of mind. I know most students of Reiki never do, but I think people who are on this more spiritual path of Reiki sometimes get to that state of mind. I have gotten there. It doesn't usually last for very long. Maybe it lasts a few hours. Sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's a day or a day and a half or 2 days, but not much longer. Maybe it'll get longer over time, but I don't know. Where I truly move into that state of oneness. And in that state, I don't need my hands. I don't need symbols. I don't need to call them in or send anything to them. I just think it and they say, oh my God, I felt overcome by Reiki. So much energy. I've never felt so much energy. So this is the sort of challenge for the coming years of your Reiki practice. Learning to be the Honshoze Shonen, learning that the light in you is the same as the light in all your clients. So when you have this balance of the body with Choku-rei, and you have this balance of the mind with Seiheki, when you become one through the Honshoze Shonen, and you see that the client as no different from you, no space and time, no distance, then we have the potential to achieve the unitive state of Daikomyo, the oneness, where everyone just dissolves and bodies don't exist anymore and everything becomes the light of Reiki equally. And this is sort of the goal, my goal for, all my students, if it's in their karma to achieve that. That's, I think, the pathway that Usui left for us. And even people who never get there, if you just put your hands on yourself and others, Reiki will help them. So you don't ever have to. I don't want to say your goal is to do this thing. You don't need to do it. There's nothing to do. You already are this thing. But as we let go of more and more the old ideas we have, the more we start to realize that we are this thing. It's like, a bad example is that I have lots of women clients who are actually really skinny and beautiful. But when they look in the mirror, they think they're super fat and very ugly. And it's a lifelong journey for them to learn to let go of this old image that's in their head. That's not real. It doesn't match reality, but that's what they see when they look in the mirror. And that's sort of what we have to do in Reiki, is little by little let go of the old ideas in our head that I'm me and you're you, and those are your problems and these are my problems. And start to come into the realization of the truth that we're all just the light of the universe, light of God. We just look different, have different names, but we're one. We're one, and there's actually nothing to do. Everything we think or want, it's already there. We just have to let go of the effort. It's the hardest thing in Reiki. Hardest thing. So that's your challenge for 2 weeks. Become the Reiki symbols. Truly become the Reiki symbols. If you search for Daikomyo, you'll see the symbol I had up on the screen, the master symbol. This is the master symbol. It's the one we use to give the initiations in Reiki classes. Dai, it's literally just Japanese, so there's nothing secret about it. Dai means great. You can even see the ko is like a radiance or white, bright. You could see the radiating light coming out of the top of it. It's like the sunrise. And then myo at the bottom is the sun and the moon. Myo. It's two characters, M and Y-O, Myo. And Daikomyo, it means the great white light. And it's not just any light, it's the united light of the sun and the moon together. All the light that is, from a day when only there was no artificial light. Daikomyo. So if you'd like to work with the Daikomyo, you can also visualize yourself becoming the Daikomyo. The symbols are very easily found on the internet in Japan. They're written above the entrance to almost every temple. These, if you tell a 5-year-old in Japan to write Daikomyo, they'll write it as well as their own name. Because they're just very standard words, nothing special. Also, it should be noted, Yusui didn't give the Daikomyo to all his master students. He only taught it to a few who were at the level where they could realize oneness. So some of Usui's students said, oh, there's no fourth symbol. And a few of them, like Hayashi, said, oh, yes, there is. Teacher gave me this fourth symbol. So that's your goal for the next 2 weeks. Now we have to talk about where we're having our graduation party. Let me stop this crazy recording.